welcome to another green marble crochet tutorial. For this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make this, don't really know what to call it yet, cheeky sidearm gap. I don't know. It's a very experimental design. I have a feeling I saw it once in a film, but I can't exactly remember which film that is, so... But yes, this is it. I'm really happy with it. I actually love the design. So obviously this is incorporating the Starflower granny square that I made a couple of weeks ago. Maybe I can call it a Starflower sweater. I don't know. Doesn't really make sense because you gotta, yeah. Anyway, yes, I really like it. There's not a lot to say. It's, yeah, like I said, it's very experimental. So I sort of made it up as I went along with sort of a vague thing in mind. Anyway, aside from that, we should probably just get started. Also, if you haven't subscribed but you would like to subscribe to join me for some more tutorials, I would love to have you join me. A big thank you to my patrons. Thank you for your support. Also, thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching my videos. What else? Yeah, that's it. Also, if you need to get in contact with me very quickly for anything, if you need help, I don't always see the comments on YouTube because, I don't know, reasons, it just doesn't always work out that way. But you can get a hold of me on Instagram. So I am _green_marble on Instagram. So you can find me there. My picture is the same as on YouTube, so it's easy to find. Aside from that, yeah, I think we can just get started. Alright, now we're going to begin by having a quick look at the tiny details on the labels of these yarns. So this is the one that I'll be using for the body, and this is the one that I'll be using for the squares, for the starburst pattern that goes into the squares. So I'll have a look at this one quickly first, just so we can put that aside. We'll come back to it later. So where's that? There we go. So this is the label for that one. So if you need more time to have a look at anything, just pause the video. So that's what we're working with. Hopefully that will focus. Yes, that's what we're working with for this yarn. 100% acrylic. And here are the tiny relevant details. Oh, so this one's saying that I should use a 4 to a 5mm hook, which is interesting because it's quite a fine yarn. I would have thought maybe a 3 or a 3.5. But anyway, so that's that one. Like I said, if you need more time, but now we're going to put this one aside and we're going to be working with this one to begin with. So let's have a quick look at these details. Also, I just want to take the time to mention quickly now that if at any point during the tutorial I go too fast, there is a feature on YouTube where you can slow down the speed of the video. So just have a look on the side. It's on the side panel of the video screen somewhere. You can actually slow it down a fair bit, which is really good. So yeah, just do that if I go too fast. And also you can, you know, find me on Instagram or leave me a comment if you need more help with anything. Yeah, and these are the tiny relevant details of this yarn. So yes, it's saying to use a 3 or a 3.5mm hook for this particular yarn, which is good because I'm using, for this project, my 3.5. I feel like I've been using this one a lot lately. So it's 3.5mm hook. Alright, we should probably just begin. Okay, now to begin, we're going to find the end of our yarn. So here's the end, and we're going to start by making a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, you grab your end and you wrap the yarn around your fingers like so. Pull the loop through, just like that. Then we're going to adjust that knot to our hook, pull tight. And now we're going to chain a length of 97. So to make a chain, it is yarn over, pull through. So that's one chain. Yarn over, pull through. That's 2. Let's get a bit closer. A bit more focused. Yes. Yarn over, pull through. So that's 3 chains. So we're going to chain 97. And once we've done that, we're going to meet back up. and talk about what to do next. Okay, see you soon. Okay, now that I've made a chain of 97, what we're going to do next is we're going to very carefully feel our way back to the other end of the chain. So being careful not to get that twisted. Work your way back down the other end, just like this. Alright, now that we're back down the other end, what we're going to do is we're going to turn that chain like this. We're going to slip stitch into that first chain. Now to slip stitch, see that top part of the chain just there? You're going to insert your hook through there, just like that. Sorry, move a bit closer. Having problems focusing. Okay, so insert your hook through there, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through that last chain that you did, just like that. And that joins the chain. Okay, so what we're going to do for round 1 is we're going to chain up 2, so 1 and 2. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be double crocheting into every chain around, so there'll be 97 double crochets, and you're starting with that first chain just there where you slip stitched into, so that's going to be your first stitch. So for a double crochet, it's yarn over and insert your hook into the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's a double crochet. We'll do the next one together as well. So it's yarn over, seriously, problems focusing, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So there's 2 double crochets. So there's going to be 97 all the way around. We'll meet back up once we've done our 97 double crochets, and we'll talk about closing up the round, and then we're going to talk about how to move on to round 2. Alright, see you soon. Alright, now here I am putting in my 97th stitch of the round, so into that last chain just there, a double crochet to finish up. Hang on, that wasn't very neat. There we go, so your last double crochet of the round. Now, what we're going to do is, you'll see at the beginning there's that chain of 2 just there. So what you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch into that stitch just above the chain of 2, like that, to close the round. So there we go, round closed. Alright, so what we're going to do for round 2 is we're going to chain up 2, 1 and 2, then we're going to turn the work. And the reason I turn the work after every round from now on is because it stops the seam from drifting to the side. So that's why we do that. Alright, so we're doing that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to be actually doing front post, back post stitches to do the ribbed collar. So this is new. I don't usually do this for ribbed collars. I usually do a different method, but I thought this one would just look really nice at this point. Alright, so yes, we're going to do that. Now, to do front post, back post, so this is quite a process, and I'm going to try and, if my camera will allow me, show this to you. So it's double crochets. Now, the post talks about the post of the stitch. So you can see just here, there's that post of the double crochet. Focus, focus. So there's a post just there. Now what we do is, for the front post, we yarn over, try and move it back a bit, yarn over. So there's that chain of 2 just there underneath, and there's your new chain. And then moving on to the stitch after that, so we've yarned over, we go in beside the stitch just here, we push around behind the stitch and come out the other side like this. Then we yarn over, pull that loop back around the stitch just there. This camera is hopeless. Back around the stitch like this. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's a front post. Now for a back post, what we do is yarn over, then we go in behind the stitch. We push out through the side, just here like this, and then we push in front of the stitch, just like this, and out through the other side, around the post. Then yarn over, pull up a loop behind just like that, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's a back post. So we'll do another front post, back post together. So for the front post, it's yarn over, go in, push your hook behind the stitch and out through the other side, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's a front post. Now we'll do the back post again. So yarn over, come in behind the stitch, push out around the front. So push in front of the stitch, come out the other side like that. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you're going to repeat that to the end of the round. Front post, back can't talk properly. Front post, back post till you get to the end of the round. Once we've finished that, we're going to meet back up and we're going to talk about how we're going to move on to round 3. Okay, see you soon. Alright, now here I am on my last stitch of the round. So the last stitch is a front post. So we're going to front post that stitch, just there like that. And once again, we're going to look for the chain 2 at the beginning of the round. Now because we chained up 2 and turned the work, it's going to look a little different. But there it is, just there and there. So see, just there. And then you see above that is the stitch that you're going to slip stitch into to close the round. Just like that. There we go, and that's round 2. Okay, now what we're going to do for round 3 is we're just going to be repeating. Drop my pencil. Okay, we're going to be repeating the last round, but we're going to go through it together because it's going to look slightly different. So chaining up 2, and we're going to turn the work and into every back post. So the next stitch is a back post. You'll see it's reversed when you turn the work. So next stitch is a back post. Into every back post we do a back post, and into every front post, which is the next stitch, we do a front post. Back post, going in round behind the stitch, pushing fronts, come out the other side, back post, double crochet. Next one, front post. And that's how you do the ribbed effect. So for every back post, it's a back post, double crochet. Every front post, it's a front post, double crochet. See if we can focus the camera there just a little bit. Okay, yeah. So that's what we're doing. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to do 8 rows from the beginning, including the original row of double crochets that we did, but I'm not quite sure. So it's either going to be 6 or 8. So skip ahead, just, it's going to be the next segment really, to see how many rows I've done before we move on to getting started on the shoulder and the chest area and the upper body and the increases that we'll need to do. Yeah. So it's either going to be 6 or 8. We'll see what happens. Yes, all right. We'll just I'll get it done. I'll come back. I'll tell you what I've done. So yeah, like I said, the rounds are just like this from now on. Front post, back post, till you get to the end of the round. When you get to the end of the round, chain up 2, turn the work, repeat the process, and yes, we'll meet back up again soon. All right, see you soon. Okay, now I've done my 6 rounds of front post, back post, so 6 is plenty, I feel like. Doesn't need to be 8, that would just be way too much. Okay, and now what we're going to do is, straight from where we joined the last round, we're going to chain 1, so chain 1, grab your scissors, there we go, grabbing your scissors, you're going to cut the yarn for the time being, so cut the yarn, just there, cutting long enough that you can weave that in later on. I'm going to cut the yarn and then pull that chain through. So where I pull that chain through, just like this, pull it tight. So I've tied that off for the moment. Now what I've done is I've marked out 13 spaces for each shoulder section because we're going to be doing the front and the back and the shoulders separately. Because usually what I do is I do what I think what is called a raglan seam. So I'll be crocheting in the round, and at each increase section for the seams I'll do a chain space of 2 followed by 2 double crochets into that chain. Anyway, that's just something else entirely, but for now we're doing something different. So what we're going to do, so because I've marked out 13 spaces for each shoulder section, there will be a beginning stitch count of 36 for the back and 35 for the front, because what we want to do is we want to end up, by the time, I've estimated that we'll need to do 16 rows of increase for each section, and by the time we've finished those 16 rows of increase, there will be 135, a stitch count of 135 for the body, and a stitch count of 45 for each sleeve, for each arm section. So that's what we're doing. Now, I think we'll get started. I think we'll start on the back first. So we'll start on the back. And what we do is we find the end of our yarn again, the end of our yarn that we just cut. We make a fresh slip knot. So making a fresh slip knot, and we're going to, just ignoring that stitch just there because I've marked out the 13 for the shoulders, so the next one along is going to be the first one of the back. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start on the side where that it would be if we had chained up 2 and turned. So you'll see, like, the braided side is going to be the wrong side. So you're going to turn it and it'll be the side that looks like this instead. So there's the braid just there. It'll be this side. So we're starting with this first stitch along from that first stitch marker just there for the shoulder. So you're going to insert your hook through that first stitch just there. Remembering there'll be a stitch count of 36 for the back. So there's that join just there. Make sure you get 36 along the back. So you're adjusting your slip knot to the hook just there. Pull it tight. And just like that, then you're going to pull that slip knot through that stitch and you're going to chain 1. And for each time I get to the end of a row, I'm only going to be chaining up 1 and turning. Usually you chain up 2 for double crochets, but I feel like it gives a neater effect if you just chain up 1 and turn. Anyway, so here we are. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be increasing by 1 stitch into every second and every second last stitch of the row. So we're increasing by 2 for each row, but into every second and every second last stitch. So to begin, we have gone into that first stitch, we've chained up 1. We're going to put a double crochet. Oh no, I chained up 1 with the wrong. That was stupid. Okay, we're going to do that again. 1 second. All right, here we are. Now I've chained up 1. And what I'm going to do beside that chain of 1 is I'm going to put a double crochet. So 1 double crochet. And we are increasing straight away from this beginning section. So into the next stitch along, you're going to put 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. So counting that as just 1, if you count to the end, there'll be a stitch, well, there'll be 36 stitches that you'll have worked into, but at the end of this row you will end up with a stitch count of 38. So going into the next stitch along, just 1 double crochet, so count that as 3 and then 4 and 5. So when you get to this 35th double crochet along, you'll be putting 2 double crochets into that 35th stitch. I'm going to meet back up with you at that point and we'll finish up together. We'll talk about how to do the next round and so on. Okay, see you soon. Alright, now here I am on that 35th stitch. So where are we? On that 35th stitch, so I'm going to put, moving that aside, I'm going to put 2 double crochets into that 35th stitch just there. 1 and 2. Sorry, I've been weaving that in and end in as I've gone along. So there's 2 into that, and then into the 36th stitch, just 1 double crochet. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain up 1. So chaining up 1, we're going to turn the work. Now, every first stitch is going to go into that stitch right beneath that chain just there that you've done. So that'll keep your stitch count right. So we've increased. Now we have a stitch count of 38. So once again, we're going to double crochet into that first stitch. 1. and then into the next stitch along we're going to put 2 double crochets, so 1 and 2. Then you're going to count along 38 stitches, obviously. Just don't count the 2 stitches that you put into the same stitch, just count that as 1, but do put the 2 in anyway. So yes, you're going to count along, and on the 37th stitch along you're going to put 2 double crochets in. Then for the final stitch you're going to put 1 double crochet in, chain up 1, turn the work, and you're going to repeat that process till you've done from this starting row that you've done till you've done 16 rows. Then you're going to cut the yarn, tie it off, and for the front, because you've got a slightly different stitch count, you're starting with 35 stitches, but you're still going to be doing the same process. So I can't remember what the stitch count will be. And 1 second. Okay, yes, so once you've done your 16 rows of increase for the back, so you will end up with a stitch count of 68 stitches. And when you've done it for the front, because there's 35 and you're working up by 2 for each row, when you've done your 16 rows of increase, you will end up with a stitch count of 67. 67, and so 68 plus 67 should be 135. Yes, you know, if my maths is going okay at the moment. So that's what you're going to end up with, and then we're going to start work on the sleeves. So I won't go through the front with you, I'll just leave you to do that. I trust you know what you're doing. For the sleeves, you'll be doing the same process. So you'll be doing 16 rows of increase, the same as you're doing this. And by the time you have, actually I won't go through the sleeves with you either, I'll leave you to do that, but I will tell you that by the time you've done your 16 rows of increase for the sleeve sections, you'll end up with a stitch count of 45 for each sleeve, which is perfect because that's exactly what we need. And at that point we're going to join the seams, and we're going to work on attaching our granny squares, because those are the stitch counts we need to be attaching our granny squares, because it's all divisions of 15 and each side of the granny square has 15 stitches. So that's why I've worked out these calculations. So all going well, it should work out really well. Yes. All right, let's go away. Let's do our increases for our front and back sections and our sleeves. Obviously the seams aren't going to be joined for this top chest shoulder area, which is kind of the effect I'm going for, so you know it's good. All right, we'll go away, we'll come back, we'll see what we're up to. Yes. All right, see you soon. All right, now that I've increased all front and back and shoulder sections by 16 rows, 2 stitches per row, which has given me a stitch count of 45 for each sleeve, and I think there's 67 for the front and 68 stitches for the back, which gives me a total of 135 stitches for the body. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on joining all 15 of these that I've done up. So these squares, I have a tutorial that I've made for these particular starflower granny squares. So if you want to know how to make those, please go and watch that tutorial. You'll need to know how to make those. I'll probably say that in the intro of this video anyway, that you'll need to make those. So now we're going to join those. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be starting at the back. So I have the right side of the work facing out, and I'm starting on the back, the right hand sleeve at the back of that. So this corner of that. So we're going to be doing that, and then we're going to be also joining the seams, but we'll be doing that as we get towards the back, when joining along the back, because we're starting from the back of the right hand sleeve, working along the front, and then moving on to the back. All right, so let's begin. So we've got our right hand sleeve like this, and this is how it's going to look when it's facing you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the end of our yarn. We're going to make a fresh slip knot. Going to pick up a square, and I want to make sure that these scraggly ends of the square, like this sort of beginning bit of it, joining bit of it, is facing that way, so facing to the side. And what we're going to do is each stitch, now you're going to be working with 15 stitches on each side of the square, and there's going to be obviously going to be 3 squares joined to the sleeve because there's 45 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up this first square, And the stitch that you'll be working with, so you'll see that the stitch you'll be working with falls to, so there's the stitch that we're working with, just, I'm going to get closer, this one just here, so the stitch falls to this side, not to this side, this one just here. So, where we go, we're going to stick our hook through that stitch, and then pull the slip knot through that you've made and adjust that knot to the hook. Then you're going to pick up the sleeve and you're going to insert your hook into the first stitch along on the back or on that sleeve. And I'm going to try and work the ends in it, like weave in the ends as I go along, because I just find it's neater. So we've put our hook through that first stitch on the back of the sleeve just there. Then you're going to yarn over, focus the camera a little, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, single crochet. So you're single crocheting basically. Then you're going to drop that loop that you've got on your hook, drop that, go into the next stitch along on the square, so the second stitch along on the square. Then you're going to pick that loop up again and pull it through that stitch on the square, pull that tight. Then you're going to pick up the sleeve, move into the next stitch along on the sleeve, and single crochet, so that's 2 stitches joined. Then you're going to drop that loop you've got on your hook, so dropping that loop you've got on your hook, go into the next stitch, the 3rd stitch along on the square, pick that loop back up and pull it through that stitch on the square, move to the sleeve again, and single crochet into the 3rd stitch along. Hopefully this is making sense. I'm trying to be as clear as I can. Okay, so then you're going to drop the loop again, and you're going to go into the 4th stitch along on the square, pick that loop back up and pull it through the 4th stitch, pull that tight. Then moving on to the 4th stitch along on the sleeve, you're going to single crochet, just like that. Drop the stitch again, or drop the loop again, go into the 5th stitch along on the square, pull the loop through, and single crochet to the 5th stitch along. So let's count that to make sure we're right. Should be five that we've done, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. So we're going to do that with all 15 stitches along on the side of the square. We're going to be single crocheting those, like as I've just shown you how to do, to the first 15 stitches along on this sleeve. Once we've done that, we're going to meet back up and we're going to talk about how we're going to get started on attaching the next one. Okay, see you soon. Alright, now then, I've attached that first square. I'm going to show you how to attach the next one, and then you'll know how to attach the one after that so that it completes the sleeve.
Alrighty, and here are the finished mittens. So yes, this is how I envisioned wearing them last night when I was thinking about it. I wanted to
making sure that's
pair them up
bit
with
is
this jumper that I made,
again,
sweater, long neck, off the shoulder roll
then
neck.
we find the
It looks really
stitch
good.
yeah.
And of course, very simple to make.
Dropping that
not much
stitch,
time at all.
that last stitch that we did.
I hope you like them. I hope you enjoyed this
stitch
tutorial,
of this
and
square.
I'll see you next time.
So that will be
Thanks for watching.
that one just there. Pick that stitch up and pull it through the first stitch of the new square. Pull it tight. Move on to the next stitch along on the sleeve, single crochet, and you're just repeating the process that you did for the last square. So going into, drop that stitch, go into the next stitch along on the square, pick the stitch back up, pull it through that stitch on the square, single crochet to the next stitch along on the sleeve. So what I've realized is that I can't do the squares all the way around like this because that would mess up the stitch count. So what we're going to do is we will continue doing this on the sleeve till you've done 3 squares on the sleeve attached to all 45 stitches of the sleeve. Then you'll be repeating that process for the other sleeve, but we're going to be doing something a bit different for the body because, yeah, the stitch count won't be the same. Yeah,
I messed it up. But it's okay. I mean, it's not a big deal. So once we've attached the squares to the sleeves in this fashion, we're going to meet back up and we're going to talk about how we're going to be attaching the squares to the body section. Alright, see you soon.